Hello and welcome to Blue Club Sports. This is another Chelsea video I got coming out today, and I just wanted to talk about a few things. First being the Salzburg recap. I saw the majority of the match. Feel like it's still, it's unfair to judge Graham Potter off this first match. Quick turnaround. Brand new set of players. Of course, he has, relationships, especially with Marc Cucurella. But I think it's way too quick to be very judgmental. I think that's why it looks very similar to what we saw under Thomas Tuchel. As you guys know, when Thomas Tuchel came into the job, we had Wolves at home in the Premier League. And that's when he started playing 5 in the back, and we really thought it was like, well, we usually play a back 4, but we're playing a back 5 just to ensure we're sound defensively. We don't want to leak goals, and then it's funny how it just ended up being the norm, us playing 5 in the back. So, but yeah, Raheem Sterling looked pretty good. But yeah, just very similar. I do not want to be too critical, of course, of the manager. Give him time. And I think the next match that we play, which is all the way until the other side of the international break, October 1st against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. So that is going to be a very interesting one, to say the least. That's going to be more where I'm going to be more critical and judgmental of Potter, because, he's going to have a lot of time with these players. All the matches got moved around with the events in the UK. So yeah, I think if you're gonna judge Potter, start judging him Palace away October 1st. But also dealing with Chelsea, the comments from Todd Boehly that are getting a lot of shtick. So first, there was a report out that he mentioned that we need to play a 4-4-3 to Thomas Tuchel. That came out to be false, I believe, which was, if it was true, I'm fucking shitting bricks over here as a Chelsea fan. And also the comments he made at some business expo. He was one of the keynote speakers. He was talking about what his plans are with Chelsea. And he mentions a multi-club system. So me personally, I have experience with multi-club systems. I think personally, from a fan's perspective, I think they're dumb. If you're rooting for the sister club, the ugly sister club, right? So for me, the reason why I say I have experience with it is MLS. As you guys can see, I'm fans of New York teams. Being that I grew up when I was very young. I grew up in the New York area, and with MLS, everyone says you should have an MLS team. And the thing is, the both New York franchises in MLS are sister clubs. They're sister club of RB Leipzig. They're under the Red Bull family, and the other one's a Manchester City team. And if I were to say I have an MLS team, it would be New York City. The thing is, I do own a shirt. I do own a shirt of New York City, but I can't really take it seriously because how do I word this? We develop players and they leave, right? And that's fine. That's what MLS is about. But Tati Castellanos was by far the best player on that team, and they sell him to Girona, which is another Manchester City club, for no money. It was just they just moved him around. And that's fine because it's under the same umbrella. It's just stupid for me to root for a team that's not the main club, I guess, what I'm trying to get at. But if you're a fan of the main club, I think it's great. If Tati Castellanos earns his stripes, he could be playing as, backup to the likes of Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland in, a year, 2 years' time. I think Tati Castellanos would, he could score goals in the Premier League. I'm pretty sure he's got a eye for goal for sure, but it's just hard to be a fan of those teams that are always the little brother. It's just pointless. I can't. The owners don't really take it seriously. It's more just for development of players, and I can't really take them seriously. So that's why really I don't really follow MLS. And then this was also a sister team for the Houston Dynamo, and that's why I was hesitant on following the team, and they're my local USL team. But once they cut off that relationship, I'm a huge fan now because it's its own thing. It's it doesn't have to answer to Houston Dynamo. Their players are their players. They don't get sent out or anything, and I think that's what that's a big deal for me as a fan to take a team seriously. But to wrap it up, Boehly's comments about doing a multi-club thing, I think would be good. I think with if you're as a supporter of Chelsea, right, not really caring for whatever teams we go and buy, we're talking about a team in Brazil, a team in Portugal, I believe. I think it would be very beneficial just because, we have the likes of Billy Gilmore, the likes of, Fikayo Tomori, Levi Colwill, youngsters that deserve game time, and you send him to another Premier League club, and he does bring a point where it's, do they have the player's best interest in mind, or sometimes it's not because they just want to win now, right? And they don't get the development that we expect or project from our side, right? So I think he does have a point there. And a multi-club thing, I think, is the way of the future. I think you'll see more and more. I made a joke that he should buy this team, the Toros, but yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that happening. That would be cool, though. Like, literally, the stadium's like 20 minutes from my house, and I could go see, Billy Gilmore, Levi Colwill, like the real youngsters of Chelsea Football Club, earned their stripes, just a drive down the road, basically here. But yeah, and then he also mentioned the All-Star game, and me being an MLB fan, I know exactly where he's getting at with the All-Star game. I know it's very foreign to the British fan, but he was basically saying we have All-Star weekend, which I'm familiar with, and they generate $200-300 million in revenue. And he says basically that right there, if they did a North versus South Premier League All-Star game, it would fund the football pyramid and the lower teams that are basically in EFL League One, EFL League Two, and give them, support, financial support for sure. I think a lot of them laughed at it, especially Jurgen Klopp. But if you watch the clip of Jurgen Klopp talking about it, he's like, that's kind of silly. And then he's talking about, he's like, well, you would have Arsenal players, Spurs players, Chelsea players playing on one team. And then you would have City, United, and Liverpool players like sitting there contemplating in it. You can tell it's like, well, that kind of seems interesting. I don't know how much fan interest there would be. Of course, it would have to be very popular amongst the domestic fans over there. And there's got to be something. There's got to be a prize. From my knowledge, the MLB All-Star Game, the players just get the winners get a big check. And I don't know. They need to figure out what the reward would be for that game, because if not, it's just a glorified friendly, and then you know how those go. Players aren't really they're just messing around. Like, they would need to find a way to make it in a competitive match, so it really generates revenue. If his goal is to fund the football pyramid in England and do other stuff as well. Also, it was reported that Chelsea had a behind closed doors friendly against Brighton, which we won 2-1. Carne, he scored both the goals, the youngster we got from Aston Villa over the summer. I think it's good. From what I read, it was basically players that weren't featured in the Salzburg match in the midweek. And I think that's good. I think that's good that Graham Potter's trying to figure out who's who can do what, who can, who won't let him down, once the Premier League matches come thick and fast. So just good to see. Like I said, with any friendly, especially what I was saying this summer, I don't really take friendlies too seriously. But I think under a new manager, there's a slight importance just because he's trying to figure out who he can rely on and who, he wants to avoid playing as much as he can. But like I said, our next match for Chelsea is going to be at Selhurst Park, October 1st against Crystal Palace. I am planning to do a post-game recap of that game. Also maybe a pre-game preview just because it's going to be so long that we go without a Chelsea match. But like I said, for all the Chelsea content you would want, you come here to Blue Club Sports. I'm also on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Blue Club Sports. If you like the video, please like. If you have anything to say, anything interesting, please comment down below. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate if you do so. And like I said, I'll see you next time with another Chelsea video, but it'll be a little bit because they're not playing any games. But if anything interesting comes out, I'll keep you guys posted.